Hey everyone, this is a short video on how to kind of think about and revise your case study. Okay. So here's an example from a student, a former student, and he had a similar assignment, and he was in the culinary arts program. And so he came up with this example. So Susan runs a restaurant that serves only the finest foods, ingredients, no matter the cost, to keep her upscale patrons satisfied and wowed. Recently, she had a request for Russian wild beluga caviar. She is a firm believer in sustainable foods and conserving resources for the future to enjoy. Sue knows that not only is the product illegal to harvest, the species is endangered and poaching gives the vast majority of production of the product. Given that Sue must uphold her duties to provide for her guests and the need for her to continue business for her personal well-being, is it morally permissible to ignore the implications of acquiring such products to save her restaurant? Okay, so this is pretty good. We have a case of a restaurant owner, a chef, a restaurant owner. Russian wild beluga caviar is illegal. So you can start seeing and here's an upscale patron who wants to spend money, right? But at the same time, so she wants to make money, she owns her business, but at the same time, she also is all about, sustainable foods, conserving resources, and there's a reason why this Russian wild beluga caviar is illegal because the species is endangered. Okay, so there are a lot of kind of issues going on, a lot of things that we can work with. So what are some questions we could ask? Here's a student. I'll name him John. So I say, John, okay, so this is pretty good, but it can get a little bit better. Is for one? Here's some questions. Okay, so what are the facts of the case enough to set up the moral situation, right? So what do you mean by facts, or what do I mean by facts? What I mean is this part. She runs a restaurant. She has recently someone requested the caviar. It's all the kind of objective points of the case. It's not what she should do or what she should not do. So notice this part's good. The facts seem to be good. Now, what I would probably tell John is, are the stakes high enough? Would Sue really be tempted by the offer, right? So if an upscale patron says, you know what, I'll give you, an extra $50 tip if you do this, right? Now, is really $50 enough? Are the stakes high enough? I mean, those are so low stakes. I mean, remember, she's a firm believer in sustainable foods and conserving resources, right? This is illegal. I mean, if she gets caught, she could probably be fined, or maybe even more, right? Maybe they would close down a restaurant. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of issues here. So $50, why would you do that? That's just not enough. The stakes aren't high enough, right? So Sue wouldn't really be tempted by that offer. So look at your own cases. And sometimes when you're first beginning to write these case studies, a lot of times, the stakes aren't high enough. Why would you even consider doing the quote unquote illegal thing or quote unquote immoral thing, right? You wouldn't be tempted at all unless the stakes were higher, unless in doing the immoral thing or in doing the illegal thing, that there is some sort of good consequence that would be associated with it, right? So that's a question I would ask John here. And the stakes don't seem high enough. Sue or Susan would never, you have to be more clear. So he probably needs to up the stakes on why she would be tempted to get this, beluga caviar. Okay, so we'll see in a bit what he does. are there moral issues or only prudential issues or issues in etiquette, right? So a lot of you, I took a glance at your kind of rough draft cases, and a lot of it's just difficult cases, right? Cases in the office where it's a little hard, or your boss can make a decision to hire someone or not, right? But it's not a big. It's a question about, is this good business or not, right? But there's no real moral issue involved, right? So you have to think carefully here. There are moral issues all over the place, right? The issue of one should if she believes in sustainable food, she thinks it's a moral thing to sustain particular species of foods, right? There are other kind of moral issues of what's right or wrong. There are kind of the issues of her business, right? So these are more prudential issues now, of the mission of her restaurant, right? Only serves finest ingredients, these kinds of things. Also, there's moral / legal issues, right? Now, sometimes something illegal can be moral, right? So, for example, things that civil rights, right? What we fought for in civil rights in the 60s. That they fought for, they were doing illegal things, quote unquote, right? By protesting and marching and, sit-ins and things of that sort. But they did it for a moral reason. Now, do we have a duty to keep, species from not being endangered? So those are another kind of moral issue that's involved here. Personal well-being. One should be able to support her family. That could be a personal issue, okay? A moral issue. It's not just etiquette and prudential, okay? So what can we do in trying to revise a story? There are really 4 things you can really do. You can add something, you can subtract something, you can revise parts, or you can rewrite the whole thing. Here, it would probably be to revise a little bit and to add something, okay? So this is what he came up with. Sue runs a restaurant that serves only the finest ingredients, no matter the cost, to keep her upscale patrons satisfied and wowed. Unfortunately, Sue is struggling financially and faces closing the restaurant. Recently, she had a request for Russian wild beluga caviar, with a customer offering to pay enough for Sue to continue running the restaurant. She is a firm believer, blah, blah, blah. Notice now the stakes are higher, right? Sue is struggling financially, right? Now, it would be that this customer is really rich and wants a party and, serving caviar, but is, enough so that she could continue running. Maybe she's, a little low on rent or her lease this month or the next couple months, and this will kind of give her enough to continue going on. So now it makes it, should she really do it or not, right? Before, it's like, if it's a $50 tip, then whatever, right? But now the stakes are high. So what should she do, right? So this is where the rubber meets the road, and the case becomes now interesting. I hope this helped. And what I want you to think about are these kinds of things. First of all, are the facts enough? So sometimes you don't provide enough information about the situation to know what's going on. So that's what you need to revise. You perhaps add or subtract. Sometimes there's irrelevant information. That's where you subtract. Sometimes, and most of the time, I'm guessing that the stakes aren't high enough. So if that's the case, then you need to do probably a little bit of addition, maybe a little bit of revising, a little bit of subtraction in some areas, and rewrite or revise parts of it, or maybe just start over. Okay, I hope this helped. Again, if you have questions, email me some details. If you email me what's wrong with this whole case study without any details, then that's kind of hard, right? But if you say, is the stakes high enough here, or something like that, then I could respond thoughtfully there. Okay, so let me know. I'll see you online.